Yo, what up, everyone? Today I'm covering a sort of new topic that I haven't delved into yet, and it has to do with the secret dungeons that have been made available recently. So, currently, we have three different light and three different dark units, and I'm gonna be covering on which units, in my opinion, are worth your time and which of them are simply not good at all in some cases and definitely not worth investing your resources into. If you aren't aware, Secret Dungeon can be accessed through the Kairos menu at the top. You can enter it, or rather, you can open a Secret Dungeon every something like 32-ish hours or 36-ish hours, so basically around 1.5 days from what I've seen so far. And you can open them using 100 of these secret energy, which can be obtained from the repeat requests. I think they become available at the Florence continent, yeah, and increase a bit on the Rokurangma continent. It says 5 here, but it doesn't always drop 5. Sometimes it drops 3 or 4. So you do need, from what I've seen, around 22 to 23 repeat request runs to get the 100. And since they cost only 1 to enter, you will be able to get at least 1 per day on average. And as for the units itself, I'll be covering all 6 of them. Some of them are already available. So, for example, the Light Amazon is available through the Monster Story, but I'll still be covering her since I'm gonna include all of the units that are currently available. Of course, they will change in the future, and I will make new lists for the once they change. But for now, I'll be covering them all in a row. So I have some notes written there. We'll look over their skills and we'll actually place them in a tier list, which the tier list is, of course, in my opinion, after reading their skills and thinking of the uses they are useful for. So we have all 3 dark and all 3 light ones, and the tiers, of course, standard from S to C, and of course, the last one being don't build them in any case other than using them to level up your account level. Okay, so starting with the light howl, let me find where he is. Light howl, there you go, I actually own him. And his skills, so the first skill, regular attack, nothing special there. His second skill recovers HP of the target ally and itself, and applies recovery given up to itself. The recovery amount is based on its max HP. So 37.8% of max HP, that's actually very similar to the third skill he will have. But the heal only applies to 2 units, so yourself and one other ally. That means it's a little bit lackluster. Also, the recovery given is sort of lackluster as well, since if you are only bringing him as the main healer, essentially that recovery given will only work for his third skill. So it kind of loses a little bit of potential unless you bring multiple healers and have a specific combo in mind. And for the third skill, that covers HP of nearby allies and removes all damage over time. Additionally, that covers HP of the ally with the lowest HP and applies immunity to the team member with full HP. The recovery amount is based on its max HP. So yeah, just like the second skill, they seem identical scaling. It removes all damage over time, so this includes stuff like bleed, frostbite, poison, stuff like that. And recovers HP equal to 25.2% of max HP. And of course, if the target's HP is full, he gives immunity for 14 seconds. However, this is where the problem comes up, is that uh, if you are looking to bring him, you obviously need a healer, and whenever you decide to use this heal, in most cases you will not be at max HP, and that immunity sort of becomes a little bit useless in most cases. And for example, if you need a good healer, the water Lulu is actually a way better option in this case, since uh, it doesn't remove damage all the time, but it removes one of any harmful effect. this is the most useful for stuff where you will, for example, get stunned or get a heal block, which the light one unfortunately cannot remove, and will actually not be useful for healing at all. So for stuff like the Naraka raid, where the boss sometimes applies the heal block, if you were to bring Shushu into it, in most cases you will not get any healing, and that becomes a wasted pick in my opinion, and way better than, or rather outshined by the water one, which actually has very similar skills, as well as the second skill being a little better, as it provides defense up, which is a way better buff than recovery increased. So yeah, with that said, uh, it's sort of a worse Lolo, therefore I'm gonna be placing her at C tier, and in my opinion it should not be your priority to build it at all. However, she does have its uses and may see some potential in the future. Now jumping on to the light vagabond, so Darian. I also have them as I opened 2 secret dungeons of him already. And yeah, his skills, the first skill is regular attack. However, each attack has the chance to increase the provoke duration by 2 seconds. It does not provoke itself, but it only increases the duration. That instantly shows that he does need a little bit of attack speed to keep use of that provoke to last longer. His second skill swings this sword to deal damage based on its defense 2 times and applies defense up to itself if the target is provoked. So the defense up is 16 seconds, and being a 14-second cooldown, that naturally means that he can keep defense up permanently on himself. The damage also scales with defense, so you can build him tanky and he will dish out a little bit more damage than any regular attack scaling unit would. And for the third skill, shouts a menacing cry to provoke nearby enemies with a certain chance and applies defense up to nearby allies. So everyone gets defense up for 16 seconds, and it has an 82% chance to provoke for 11 seconds. So with this skill alone, he would not be too great, as the provoke lasts almost less than half of the initial cooldown duration. Also, I'm not a big fan of the chance here. I'd say he would be really useful if he was like in the 19 and higher chance range, but currently being at 82, there is a lot of potential to still miss, as well as you still have to go through the accuracy and resistance check, as well as precision plus evasion check. So that chance does drop a little bit naturally. But jumping into his passive, so Knighthood, it has a 15-second cooldown and sort of a combo towards his third skill, which actually makes him way better than the first 3 skills alone. So uses Cry of Challenge automatically if nearby allies, excluding itself, get attacked. So if any of your allies get attacked, he instantly uses this skill, regardless of the cooldown, and it only has a 15-second cooldown. So this is sort of a safeguard if you do fail to provoke an enemy and the enemy slips an attack towards one of your allies. You instantly use the third skill and make sure that you do lock down those additional enemies. So while he does have a decent kit, his drawbacks are that the chance to provoke is a little bit lower, and also, of course, the provoke not being too long lasting. So combined with the first skill, he might be able to keep the provoke on one target. However, the rest of the targets will eventually lose the provoke, and may result in the enemy attacking your other units eventually. Also, the provoke itself is a really good combo if you are a cleave user, since cleave has some abilities that scale with provoke and have some additional effects that scale with provoke, as well as does some extra damage from one of his skill trees. Oh, it's actually no, wait, yeah, everything's okay, yeah. So yeah, he's a decent combo with Cleave. He's decent security sort of monster, but he does have his drawbacks in the part of that the chances to provoke are a little low and the duration of the provoke is a little lower. So I'm gonna be placing I was debating to do it between A and B, but I'm thinking of placing it in B for now. However, it's a really high B, sort of on the edge of a lower A, as he definitely does have his use, but he's also a very situational unit, which, for example, does not work in a lot of PvE scenarios, as the bosses provoke simply does not become that useful, as most bosses have AoE attacks. And other than that, for PvP, he does need those accuracy checks, which unfortunately can ruin some of his use. And for the last light unit, it's the light Amazon. You will actually have it already, so the secret dungeon will basically only be an addition to the book effect that you get, as well as the awakening levels that you can get, or the skill ups if you prefer to use those. For the Lin itself, her skills, let me read those. Of course, let's do awakening. So she's essentially a insane boss killer. All three of her skills base with max HP damage. So first skill, regular attack, but also some max HP damage. Second skill, shoots attack based on this max HP and actually increases the damage, crit damage by 50% if the enemy is a boss. Same with the first skill, it actually deals damage dealt up 30% if it's a boss. And her third skill is very similar, so shoots a powerful arrow to deal damage based on the target's max HP to the enemy target and increases the damage if the target is a boss. And uses the 3 shot if the target is nearby. So first of all, of course, if it's a boss, it also deals similar to the first skill, 30% damage up. It has a 20% max HP scaling. However, keep in mind that it does not scale with a lot of raid bosses, so shooting the third skill does not mean that you will do 20% of the boss's max HP, and it will be a few percent at most. However, it's still a decent damage dealer for a lot of the regular dungeons, in my opinion. So stuff like Path of Growth, Essence Dungeon, stuff like that. It is a little bit lackluster in raids, as it doesn't provide a lot of utility. So she doesn't do any really useful debuffs. She does not have any sustain in itself. So it's sort of a hit or miss for the team dungeons, but for the regular Path of Growth, Essence dungeons, stuff like that, she's definitely one of the best boss killers by far. And yeah, so just because of that, if she was really good in raids and had some either safety or additional debuffs that she could provide, she would definitely be an S tier unit. But just because she only has damage, I'm placing her in A, and she's sort of a really high A, sort of bordering the S rank. And yeah, now jumping onto the dark unit. So first of all, I'm gonna be reviewing the Dark Penguin Knight, and he is over here. Yeah, so this guy's kit is quite stacked. He actually has a lot of stuff he can provide. And the first of all, basic attack, regular attack, but if the target is provoked, he actually heals for 2.3% of his max HP each hit. That means right off the bat, that attack speed is pretty useful on him. And the build you should be going for is something like attack speed HP HP or attack speed HP accuracy. The second skill is Declare War, draws attention of nearby enemies to provoke them with a certain chance and applies attack speed to itself. So of course he also gets attack speed from here, so that means that even more healing from the first skill. And since he also provokes, his first skill will mean that he can pretty much heal with a combo made with himself. He does not need any external units to provoke the enemy. So he can be sort of a good lockdown unit which can self-sustain, meaning that you do have the ability to bring other 2 damage dealers and deal with it that way. And the third skill swings the sword of attack to attack nearby enemies and applies defense down, applies stun to the target with a certain chance if the target is provoked. So the stun itself, I don't think is a big part of the skill, since you do need to combo it with the second skill, and him being a unit that most likely will sit in the one of the other non-soul link slots, that combo will be hard to make work. But his third skill actually provides level 2 defense down for 20 seconds, and the skill being on a 18-second cooldown means that he can keep that defense down permanently. So this is an amazing option for a lot of the regular boss dungeons as well. Of course, excluding the raid ones. He can keep level 2 permanent defense break as well as the boss provoked and self-sustain from the boss. So this unit alone has the ability to lock down a target essentially from attacking the rest of your team, and the rest of your team can instead do damage over focusing on sustain a little more. So he's a good support unit. However, uh, he will not be someone you use a lot, as first of all he does not provide a lot of team buffs, so you do not have stuff like attack up, you do not have stuff like defense, not defense, but crit damage taken up effects that some units like Kroa or the Windcat can provide, so you will be losing out on those. And since most PvE teams will need an attack buffer, you may need to bring a support unit as well. But for the overall support, he's definitely pretty decent, and I'm gonna be placing it's sort of a between A and B, but I'll be placing him in high B. Definitely higher than the light Davian, since I think he has way more use in most scenarios than him. Yeah. Now jumping over to the next one is the Dark Lizardman. Let me see where he is. There we go. And bringing up the skill info. So the first skill, regular, a little higher multiplier, but nothing special there. Second skill, swings the blade to deal damage based on its defense to the enemy target 2 times, and each hit has a certain chance to apply poison and defense down. So at max rank, it has an 82% chance to apply level 1 poison and level 1 defense down. His third skill smashes the ground, creating a whirlpool to deal damage based on his defense and the number of harmful effects on the targets to the enemies within the area, and applies poison. Applies defense up to itself if the target is poisoned. So level 1 poison again, and level defense up if the target does have poison. And his passive has a certain chance to decrease the damage taken when attacked by an enemy, and decreases the skill cooldown of poisoned teeth. So it's only a 5% chance, and the cooldown decreases only 5% as well. So this skill basically is non-existent in my opinion, and the rest of his kit is pretty bad, even for stuff like the seal, as there are definitely better units for poison, like the Dark Dim Reaper, for example, who provides way better poison abilities from his first skill. And yeah, just because of that, and his kit not being available, we place him straight into the trash tier. Get him if you are lucky, level him up, and leave him alone for until he gets some sort of a buff. And the last dark unit is the Dark Cowgirl. Yeah, let's bring her skills up. So first of all, first skill actually has 8 skill ups and has a pretty decent multiplier, as well as her attacks. Actually, all 3 of them ignore the target's beneficial effects. That means you can go through invincibility, busted shield, stuff like that. No matter what effects the enemy has, you just deal damage as if it was an enemy without any beneficial effects. Her second skill fires a bullet filled with forbidden power to attack the enemy and knock back the enemy target. This skill ignores the beneficial effects of the target. So, of course, decent multiplier and ignores effects as well, and has a 62% chance to push. So this does not matter on bosses, as they cannot be moved. However, in PvP scenarios, this could be a pretty decent clutch sort of pick, as push essentially acts like a CC, and it simply drops you on the ground and prevents you from moving for a few seconds. So it's sort of an option to eliminate a unit for a few seconds out of the fight, and provides that little bit potential for PvP use for her. And her third skill fires magic bullets to attack the enemy target 2 times and applies attack speed up to itself if the attack critically hits. This skill ignores the beneficial effects, of course, so we're seeing a 830% sort of multiplier, since it's 2 times and this is per hit. And if she does get a critical hit, she gets level 2 attack speed up for 16 seconds. You are able to keep that attack speed up for a little more than half of the time, since the cooldown is 26. It definitely does a pretty decent combo with her first skill, since her first skill does ignore beneficial effects as well. So you will be doing a little bit of that damage, extra damage from the first skill after using the third skill. So definitely a decent DPS option. However, for her build will mostly be focused on attack speed rather than skills, and the skills you get here are only sort of a substitute towards her use. And her passive is very similar to the Wind Cat actually, and it increases crit damage by 20%, so nothing special, just that little bit of extra damage potential. And with this in mind, I will be placing her in A tier as well. However, after comparing it to Lin, I think Lin just has a little bit more use in overall. So, for example, for most of the content, people will be focusing on PvE a lot more than PvP, and I think she actually performs way better in PvP than Casey performs in PvP. As first of all, her rates are a little bit lower for some skills, so stuff like the second skill, and of course, she only has the attack speed buff on her third skill, which in my opinion is not enough buffs to make good use of her, and definitely not worth putting in the S tier. So I will be placing in A, however she will be below the Lin, as I feel the Lin is way more useful overall than the Casey. And yeah, that's my tier list for the current secret dungeon units. Let me know if you do agree or disagree with some aspects of it, and I'm definitely open to see your thoughts on some of the units. And I'll see you in the next one.